The dark void of space stretched endlessly around the fourth planet of the Kepler 442 system. On the planet's surface, massive metal structures rose from the rocky ground like giant spears pointing toward the stars. These were not natural formations. They were weapons. Weapons built by aliens who had come from distant worlds to claim this system as their own. Commander Zexthol stood before a large window in the main command center, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. His yellow eyes watched the busy activity outside as thousands of alien workers prepared for war. Ships moved through the atmosphere like metal birds, carrying supplies and weapons to the growing fleet above the planet. Zexthul was a Vorthon, a member of a reptilian race that had joined the great alliance known as the Hegemony over 200 years ago. His green scales caught the light from the room's energy panels, and the red markings on his neck showed his high rank among his people. He was tall, even for a Vorthon, standing nearly 8 feet in height. His ancestors had been hunters on a desert world, and those hunting instincts had served him well in his rise through the military ranks. Behind him, other alien commanders worked at control stations that hummed with power. The room buzzed with the sounds of different languages as species from across the galaxy coordinated their forces. There were the insect-like Krexians with their clicking speech, the blue-skinned Altari who spoke in musical tones, and the rock-like Gorians whose voices rumbled like distant thunder. "Commander!" called out Captain Veltar from her station. She was an Altari, her blue skin marked with silver patterns that showed her noble birth. "The final ship groups have arrived. We now have 312 warships in the fleet." Zexthol turned from the window. His thin lips curved into what humans might recognize as a smile, though it showed far too many sharp teeth to be comforting. "Excellent. And what of our intelligence reports on the target world?" A new voice answered from across the room. It was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. General Krexmore approached, his massive form making the floor vibrate with each step. He was a Krexian, one of the insect warriors whose species had conquered dozens of worlds before joining the Hegemony. His forearms ended in sharp claws, and his compound eyes reflected the room's lights like black mirrors. "The humans remain as primitive as our scouts reported," Krexmore said, his voice filled with contempt. "They still use chemical rockets to barely escape their planet's gravity. Their weapons are simple nuclear devices that would barely scratch our ship hulls. They have not even achieved faster-than-light travel." Another commander, a female Gorian named Stonewalker Beth, added her thoughts. Her voice was like an avalanche, slow and powerful. "Their planet shows no orbital defenses, no energy shields, no weapons platforms. It will be simple to take their world and add their population to our workforce." Zexthul nodded slowly. The Hegemony had been expanding across this part of the galaxy for over 500 years. They had found hundreds of worlds with primitive life and dozens with intelligent species. Some had fought back. Others had surrendered immediately. All had eventually become part of the Hegemony's growing empire. The process was always the same. Scout ships would find a new world and study its inhabitants. If the species showed promise as workers or soldiers, a fleet would be sent to conquer them. The survivors would be given a choice: join the Hegemony and serve, or face extinction. Most chose to serve. Earth had been discovered 6 months ago by a routine scouting mission. The reports had been encouraging. Humans appeared to be intelligent and adaptable. They had developed basic technology and showed signs of being good workers. Their world was rich in resources and well-positioned for future expansion into their local star cluster. The only delay had been in gathering enough ships for the conquest fleet. The Hegemony was fighting wars on 3 other fronts, and ships were in high demand. But finally, enough vessels had been freed up to handle what should be a simple operation. "How long until we reach their system?" Zexthul asked. 18 standard days at current speed," replied Captain Veltar. "Our faster ships could reach them sooner, but the fleet moves at the pace of our slowest vessels." General Krexmore made a clicking sound that indicated annoyance. "We should have simply sent a single ship to destroy their cities from orbit. Why waste time with conquest when extermination would be faster?" Because the Council wants their population intact, Zexthul reminded him. Human workers could be valuable in our mining operations. Their small size would allow them to work in areas our larger species cannot reach. Soft thinking, Crexmore muttered, but he did not argue further. The decision had been made by powers higher than any of them. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the command center. The lights changed from their normal white to a warning yellow. All conversation stopped as the commanders turned to their instruments. "Report," Zexthul ordered sharply. A young Altari technician looked up from her station, her face pale with confusion. "Sir, we have detected a single vessel approaching from the direction of the human home system." "One of our scout ships returning?" asked Stonewalker Beth. "No, sir. The energy signature is unknown. The vessel is decelerating from near light speed using a propulsion system we do not recognize." Zexthul felt a chill run down his spine. "Show me." The main viewing screen activated, displaying a tactical map of the local star system. A single red dot moved across the display, slowing as it approached their position. The computer displayed the vessel's specifications below the image, but many of the readings showed error messages. "How large is it?" Zexthul asked. "Approximately 1,500 meters in length. Mass readings are inconsistent. Our sensors cannot penetrate its hull to determine crew size or weapons." General Crexmore laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "One ship? The humans send one ship against our entire fleet? This will be over before it begins." But Zexthul was not laughing. Something about the situation felt wrong. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen a species send a single vessel against overwhelming odds unless they had supreme confidence in their technology. "How fast was it traveling when we first detected it?" he asked. The technician checked her readings twice before answering. "0.97 light speed, sir. That should be impossible for any known propulsion system." The command center fell silent. Every species in the hegemony had achieved faster-than-light travel using similar methods. They created holes in space and jumped from one point to another, but traveling at near light speed in normal space required enormous amounts of energy and advanced technology that few species possessed. "Orders, sir?" Captain Veltar asked quietly. Zexthul stared at the red dot on the screen as it continued its approach. Something was very wrong here. The humans were supposed to be primitive, they were supposed to be easy prey. So why was he suddenly feeling like the hunted, instead of the hunter? "Alert all ships," he said finally. "Battle stations, and send a message to the approaching vessel. I want to know what they think they can accomplish with one ship against our fleet." As his orders were carried out, Zexthul could not shake them, feeling that they had made a terrible mistake about the humans. But it was too late to turn back now. The fleet had come too far and invested too much to retreat because of one mysterious ship. Soon, they would learn what the humans were truly capable of, and Zexthul had a growing fear that the lesson would be more costly than anyone could imagine. The USS Retribution moved through space like a dark arrow aimed at the heart of the alien fleet. Its black hull absorbed the light from distant stars, making it nearly invisible against the void. Only the soft blue glow from its engines gave away its position as it approached the Kepler 442 system. On the ship's bridge, Captain Jake Morrison stood with his hands behind his back, watching the tactical display that showed hundreds of red dots representing enemy vessels. His face was calm, showing no sign of concern despite the overwhelming odds. Morrison was 52 years old, with gray hair and lines around his eyes that spoke of many battles fought and won. He had served in humanity's civil wars, the conflicts that had shaped his species into what they were today. "Captain, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the alien fleet," said Communications Officer Katie Sullivan from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with brown hair pulled back in a regulation bun. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls as she filtered through the incoming messages. "Put them through," Morrison ordered. The bridge speakers crackled too, life with alien voices speaking in broken human languages. The translations were poor, clearly pieced together from intercepted television and radio broadcasts from Earth. "Human vessel, you will surrender immediately," came one voice, harsh and clicking. "Your species has been selected for integration into the hegemony. Resistance will result in destruction. Another voice joined in, this one deeper and rumbling, like an earthquake. You send one small ship against our great fleet. This shows the foolishness of your kind. Submit now and your deaths will be quick. Morrison listened to several more threats and demands before nodding to Sullivan. Open a channel, all frequencies. Channel open, sir. Morrison stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Command vessel Retribution. You came to our home system. You threatened our people and our world. You have one chance to leave this system immediately and never return to human space. The response came quickly, filled with what sounded like laughter from multiple alien species. The same clicking voice from before replied, Captain Morrison, I am Commander Zexthul of the Hegemony Fleet. You speak of chances, but you are the one who needs mercy. We have over 300 warships. You have one. Your mathematics are very poor. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes looked up from her tactical station. She was 38, with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. Captain, I'm reading weapon systems charging on multiple enemy vessels. They're preparing to fire. Morrison nodded calmly. Commander Hayes, what's our current status? All systems green, sir. Shields at full power. Weapons ready. Engines operating at peak efficiency. Commander Ryan Brooks spoke from the engineering station. He was a big man with dark skin and steady hands that had kept more ships running than most people could count. Captain, the singularity drive is stable. Power output is at 20%. We can increase to full power on your command. Morrison turned back to the communication station. Katie, send another message to the alien fleet. Yes, sir. Morrison's voice carried across space to every alien ship in the system. His tone remained calm, almost conversational. Commander Zexthul, you've made the same mistake that many others have made. You see one ship and assume weakness. You count our numbers and think you understand our capabilities. But you know nothing about humanity, or why Earth sent only one vessel to deal with your fleet. The alien commander's reply came with less laughter this time. Then educate us, human. Tell us why we should fear your single ship. Because, Morrison said quietly, we are not like the other species you have conquered. We did not develop our technology through peaceful exploration or trade. We forged it in the fires of war, human against human, for thousands of years, until we learned to build weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the fury of stars. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency around him. Hayes checked weapon systems that had been designed by engineers who understood that human survival might depend on superior firepower. Brooks monitored power systems that could channel the energy of a controlled black hole. Sullivan tracked communications from an alien fleet that was beginning to realize they might have made a serious error. Morrison continued his transmission. This ship was built during our civil wars. It's old by our standards, outdated technology that we use for patrol duties. But it was designed to fight other human vessels, and human military engineering is very thorough. Commander Zexthul's voice carried a new note of uncertainty. You speak of civil wars. Your species fights among itself. We did. For centuries. We learned to build better weapons, stronger defenses, faster ships. We learned because if we didn't, we died. And the survivors learned even better lessons. Morrison paused, letting that sink in. The wars ended when we realized we had developed weapons too terrible to use against each other. So we turned our attention to the stars. The alien fleet's transmissions showed growing confusion and debate among their commanders. Sullivan intercepted dozens of conversations in various alien languages, many expressing doubt about their intelligence reports on human capabilities. Captain, Hayes reported, enemy weapons are still charging, but some ships are holding position. They're not advancing as planned. Morrison nodded. Commander Zexthul, this is your final warning. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawing your fleet from this system. After that, I will assume hostile intent and respond accordingly. The clicking voice returned, but it sounded less confident than before. Human Morrison, you cannot believe that one ship can defeat our entire fleet. Even if your technology is advanced, our numbers are overwhelming. Your numbers mean nothing, Morrison replied. Commander Hayes, bring weapons online. Commander Brooks, increase power to 40%. Katie, prepare to record everything that happens next. The folks back home will want to see this. The bridge hummed with increased power as the retribution systems came fully alive. Lights that had been dim brightened to full intensity. The ship's artificial gravity systems compensated for forces that would crush any normal crew. Weapon systems that existed only in theoretical papers before humanity's civil wars, charged with enough energy to reshape matter at the atomic level. Morrison looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet. Some ships were beginning to move away, but most held their positions. Their commanders were about to learn a lesson that many human generals had learned during the civil wars. Numbers alone do not guarantee victory. 30 seconds are up, Morrison announced to his crew. All hands prepare for combat operations. Show them why Earth sent only one ship. The USS Retribution moved forward into battle, carrying with it the accumulated knowledge of a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war. Behind it, the alien fleet prepared to face an enemy they did not understand, armed with weapons they could not imagine, crewed by humans who had learned their trade in the hardest school of all. The real education was about to begin. The first wave of alien fighters launched from their carrier ships like angry insects swarming from a disturbed nest. Over 200 small craft raced toward the USS Retribution, their weapons already charging for attack. Behind them, the massive alien warships began firing their main guns, sending streams of energy that could melt through planetary crusts. Captain Morrison watched the tactical display as the enemy attacks converged on his ship. "All stop," he ordered calmly. "Let them come to us." The Retribution hung motionless in space as the alien assault reached them. Energy beams that could destroy cities struck the ship's shields and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive systems that bent the laws of physics. Missile warheads that could crack moons exploded harmlessly against barriers that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Commander Zexthul watched from his command center as his fleet's most powerful weapons had no effect on the human ship. "Impossible," he whispered. "Nothing can absorb that much energy." On the Retribution's bridge, Lieutenant Commander Hayes checked her instruments. "Shields holding at 98%, Captain. The enemy weapons are actually charging our power cells." Morrison nodded. "Very well. Commander Hayes, you may begin the demonstration." Hayes smiled grimly as her fingers moved over her controls. "Yes, sir. Firing solution locked. Engaging primary weapons." The Retribution's first shot was almost gentle by its standards. A beam of pure energy, no thicker than a pencil, reached out and touched one of the alien fighters. The small craft didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply stopped existing, as if it had never been built at all. The atoms that had made up the ship scattered into space as random particles. The alien fleet fell silent for a moment, trying to understand what they had just seen. Then panic began to spread through their communications. "Where did Fighter 7 go?" demanded one alien commander. "It was just there," replied another. "It vanished. No explosion, no debris. It's just gone." Hayes continued her work with surgical precision. Another beam reached out and unmade a second fighter, then a third. Each shot was perfectly aimed, each target chosen for maximum psychological impact on the remaining enemy forces. General Crexmore's voice crackled over the alien communications, filled with rage and disbelief. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. Use everything we have." The alien fleet unleashed its full fury. Every weapon that could reach the Retribution fired at once. Energy beams, plasma bolts, kinetic missiles, and exotic radiation weapons created a storm of destruction that lit up the void like a small star. The human ship sat in the center of the storm, completely unharmed. Its shields didn't even flicker. "Commander." Brooks spoke from his engineering station, his voice calm despite the incredible forces being thrown at their ship. "Captain, enemy weapons are providing us with enough energy to run at full power for the next 6 months. Should I route the excess to our manufacturing systems?" "Do it," Morrison replied. "We might as well make good use of their generosity." Prop. Inside the Retribution, Machines that could reshape matter at the quantum level began producing fresh ammunition for the ship's weapons. Raw stellar material was converted into exotic particles that existed only in laboratory conditions. The alien attacks were literally fueling the human ship's ability to fight back. Hayes expanded her targeting, moving from fighters to larger vessels. A beam reached out and touched an alien cruiser. The ship, which had taken 50 years to build and housed 3,000 crew members, ceased to exist in less than a second. Another beam found a supply ship loaded with ammunition. It vanished without even the satisfaction of an explosion. The alien commanders watched in growing horror as their carefully assembled fleet was taken apart piece by piece. Ships that represented decades of construction and training were being erased from existence by weapons they could not understand. "How is this possible?" Commander Zexthul demanded of his science officers. "What kind of weapons are they using?" A trembling Altari scientist looked up from his instruments. "Sir, the energy readings don't make sense. They appear to be manipulating matter at the subatomic level, breaking the bonds that hold atoms together. But that should require the power output of an entire star." On the human ship, Morrison observed the battle with the detached interest of a chess master playing against children. "Commander Hayes, let's show them something more impressive. Target their command ship." Hayes checked her targeting computer. "The large vessel in the center of their formation, sir?" "That's the one, but don't destroy it yet. Remove its weapons first. Let them watch." The Retribution's beam reached out and touched the alien flagship's main gun. The massive weapon, larger than most buildings, simply stopped existing. A second beam removed another gun, then another. Within minutes, the most powerful warship in the alien fleet had been reduced to a defenseless hulk, its crew unharmed, but completely helpless. The psychological effect on the alien fleet was devastating. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds began to break formation. Some tried to flee only to find their engines disabled by precisely aimed shots that left the rest of their ships intact. Others attempted to surrender, broadcasting desperate pleas in broken human languages. Commander Brooks looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting massive power fluctuations in several enemy ships. Their crews are trying to overload their reactors." Morrison's expression hardened. "They're planning to ram us with suicide attacks. Commander Hayes, disable their power systems, all of them." The Retribution's weapons reached out across space, touching every remaining alien ship in the fleet. Not to destroy them, but to shut down their engines and weapons, leaving them drifting helplessly in the void. It was a display of precision that demonstrated complete technological superiority. In the alien command center, Commander Zexthul stared at his dead control panels. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as his crew tried desperately to restart their systems. Around him, other commanders reported the same situation. Over 300 warships reduced to floating metal coffins in the space of an hour. "Sir," whispered Captain Veltar, "they could have destroyed us all. Instead, they chose to disable our ships. Why would they show such mercy?" Zexthul understood, and the knowledge filled him with terror. "Because they want us alive to carry a message. They want the galaxy to know what happened here." On the Retribution's bridge, Morrison studied the tactical display showing the crippled alien fleet. "Open a channel to all enemy vessels." Sullivan worked her controls. "Channel open." "Sir?" Morrison's voice carried across space to every alien ship in the system. "This concludes our demonstration. You came here believing you understood human capabilities. You were wrong. This ship represents outdated human military technology. We have weapons that make this vessel look like a child's toy." The silence from the alien fleet was complete. No threats, no demands, no attempts at negotiation. Just the quiet desperation of predators who had suddenly realized they were prey. Morrison continued, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You will be allowed to repair your ships and leave this system. You will carry word back to your leaders about what happened here, and you will ensure that no alien vessel ever approaches human space again." The dance of destruction was over, but the real lesson was just beginning. Commander Zexthul stared at his dark control panels, emergency power casting red shadows across his scaled face. Around him, his crew worked frantically to restore even basic systems to their crippled flagship. The silence from space was more terrifying than any weapon. The human ship waited out there in the darkness, watching them struggle. "Sir," called out his chief engineer, a young Vorthan named Kesran. "I've managed to restore emergency communications. We're receiving transmissions from the other ships in the fleet." "Put them through," Zexthol ordered. The speakers crackled to life with panicked voices from across the alien fleet. Ship commanders reported the same situation everywhere. Engines dead, weapons offline, life support running on backup power. Over 300 warships had been reduced to helpless hulks by a single human vessel. General Krexmore's voice cut through the chatter, filled with rage and desperation. "All ships with working weapons prepare for final assault. We will ram the human ship if necessary. Death before dishonor." "General, wait," Zexthol began, but it was too late. 20 alien ships still had partial engine power. Their commanders, driven by pride and fury, began moving toward the Retribution. These were the elite vessels of their species, ships that had never known defeat. Their crews would rather die than accept such humiliation. Captain Morrison watched the approaching ships on his tactical display. His expression remained calm, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "Commander Hayes, they're not listening. Show them why that's a mistake." "Yes, sir," Hayes replied, her fingers moving over her weapons controls. But this time the Retribution didn't use its precision beams. Instead, it unleashed something far more terrible. A wave of energy erupted from the human ship, washing over the charging alien vessels. The wave didn't destroy them, it did something worse. The alien ships began to age rapidly. Hull metal corroded in seconds. Electronic systems failed as their components decayed. Paint peeled away, revealing rust that spread like a disease. Within minutes, warships that had been built to last centuries looked like ancient wrecks that had been floating in space for thousands of years. The crews inside watched in horror as their ships crumbled around them. Emergency systems failed one by one. Life support began shutting down as corroded pipes leaked atmosphere into space. But they remained alive, trapped inside dying vessels, forced to contemplate their fate. "Temporal acceleration field, Commander," Brooks explained to his captain. "We've aged their ships 50,000 years in 5 minutes. The hulls are barely holding together." Morrison nodded grimly. "And now they understand. Commander Hayes, restore their life support systems. We want them alive." Another energy wave washed over the decaying alien ships, this time restoring just enough functionality to keep their crews breathing. The message was clear. The humans could grant life or death with equal ease. In the alien command center, Commander Zexthol felt something break inside his mind. His species had conquered worlds, enslaved entire civilizations, and considered themselves the masters of this part of the galaxy. But they had never faced anything like this. "Sir," whispered Captain Veltar, her blue skin pale with shock, "their weapons can control time itself. How do we fight beings who can manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe?" Before Zexthol could answer, the human captain's voice filled their command center once again. This time, Morrison's tone carried something that chilled them to their cores: disappointment. "You still don't understand," Morrison said, his words reaching every alien ship in the system. "Let me explain something to you. Earth didn't send its newest ship to deal with your fleet. We didn't send our most advanced weapons or our best crew. We sent the USS Retribution because it's old and we wanted to retire it anyway." The words hit the alien commanders like physical blows. Communications. Officer Sullivan had intercepted their transmissions, and Morrison knew exactly how to break their spirits completely. "This ship was built 23 years ago during our civil wars," Morrison continued. "It's powered by first-generation singularity technology. Its weapons are based on theories we developed 30 years ago. By current human military standards, the Retribution is a museum piece." The silence from the alien fleet was absolute. Every commander understood the implications. If this ancient human vessel could destroy their entire fleet without taking damage, what could humanity's current military accomplish? Morrison wasn't finished. Our newest ships don't use singularity drives. They tap directly into quantum foam, drawing power from the space between dimensions. Their weapons don't just unmake matter. They can rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. And we have thousands of such vessels. Commander Brooks looked up from his engineering station. Captain, we're receiving distress signals from their orbital installations throughout the system. Should we deal with those as well? Proceed, Commander. Show them what a proper military operation looks like. The Retribution began moving through the Kepler 442 system with terrible purpose. Orbital weapons platforms that had taken decades to build simply vanished as the ship's beams touched them. Supply depots containing enough resources to fuel wars for years were reduced to their component atoms. Communication arrays that connected the system to the greater hegemony stopped existing. The aliens watched in paralyzed horror as centuries of military construction were erased in less than an hour. Infrastructure that represented the combined efforts of dozens of species disappeared as if it had never been built. But the worst was yet to come. Commander Hayes, Morrison said quietly, target their shipyards on the surface. Sir, those facilities contain civilian workers, Hayes replied, her finger hesitating over the firing control. I know. Use the conversion beam. Turn their military factories into something more useful. The Retribution's most exotic weapon reached down to the planet's surface. The massive military shipyards that had been building warships for the conquest fleet began to change. Metal foundries became schools. Weapons assembly lines transformed into hospitals. Barracks designed to house soldiers became homes for families. In minutes, the entire military-industrial complex on the planet had been converted into civilian infrastructure. The alien workers inside found themselves surrounded by healing centers and learning facilities instead of weapons factories. The psychological impact was devastating. The aliens understood that humanity possessed technology so advanced it could reshape matter and purpose at will. They weren't just facing superior weapons. They were confronting a species that could rewrite reality itself. Morrison's voice filled the void one final time. This concludes your education in human capabilities. You came here believing you were predators. You have learned that you are not. Your ships will be allowed to repair themselves and leave this system. You will carry word of what happened here back to your superiors. Commander Zexethol found his voice at last, though it came out as barely a whisper. What do you want from us? Morrison's answer was simple and final. Stay away from human space. Stay away from Earth. And pray that we never decide your species represents a threat worth our full attention. The reckoning was complete. The alien fleet had learned the hardest lesson in the galaxy. There were always bigger predators in the dark. 3 days had passed since the battle ended. The alien fleet drifted in space like broken toys, their crews working desperately to repair enough systems to limp home. The USS Retribution waited patiently, watching over them like a guardian angel of death. Captain Morrison stood before the main view screen observing the repair efforts. His crew had been monitoring alien communications, listening to the fear and despair that filled every transmission. The psychological impact of their defeat was spreading through their ranks like a disease. Captain, Communications Officer Sullivan, reported, we're intercepting messages between the alien commanders. They're requesting permission to leave the system. Morrison nodded slowly. How many ships have restored basic engine function? Lieutenant Commander Hayes checked her tactical display. 47 vessels now have limited propulsion, sir. At their current rate of progress, the entire fleet should be mobile within 2 more days. Very well, Morrison said. Katie, open a channel to the alien fleet. Channel open, sir. Morrison's voice carried across space to every damaged alien vessel. Alien commanders, this is Captain Morrison. You have worked hard to repair your ships. Before you leave this system, there is one final lesson you must receive. In the alien command center, Commander Zexthul felt his blood turn cold. What more could the humans possibly want to teach them? His fleet was already broken, his military installations destroyed, his confidence shattered. What lesson could be worse than complete defeat? All alien vessels will receive a data transmission. Morrison continued. You will study this information carefully and ensure it reaches every leader in your government. This is not a request. Sullivan's fingers moved over her controls, sending a massive data package to every alien ship in the system. The transmission contained detailed technical specifications, historical records, and strategic analyses that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. Commander Zexthul watched his communication systems struggle to process the incoming data. The file was enormous, containing information that his computer estimated would take weeks to fully analyze. But even the preliminary scans made his heart sink further into despair. "Sir," called out his science officer, his voice trembling with disbelief. "The humans have sent us complete technical specifications for the weapons that destroyed our fleet. They've also included detailed records of their military history and current fleet deployments." Zexthul accessed the files himself, reading with growing horror. The data showed that humanity had been at war with itself for most of its recorded history. Not just simple conflicts, but sophisticated technological wars that had driven rapid advances in military science. The documents revealed that humans had developed nuclear weapons within decades of discovering basic atomic theory. They had created biological weapons capable of destroying entire ecosystems. They had built machines that could think and fight better than any organic soldier, and they had done all of this while fighting among themselves. But the most terrifying revelation was yet to come. The technical specifications for the Retribution's weapons were marked as obsolete technology, recommended for retirement. The ship that had single-handedly destroyed their fleet was considered outdated by human military standards. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving additional data about human fleet deployments." The new information made Zexthul's knees weak. Humanity maintained over 3,000 active warships, each one built with technology generations ahead of the Retribution. Their newest vessels could move between dimensions, existed in multiple realities simultaneously, and carried weapons that could destabilize entire star systems. But the numbers were not the worst part. The files showed that these ships were not exploration vessels or cargo haulers that had been converted for war. They were purpose-built military craft, designed by a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of destruction. "Sir," whispered Captain Veltar, "the humans have established colonies in over 200 star systems. Each one is protected by automated defense platforms that could destroy fleets larger than ours." Commander Zexthul read the tactical assessments with growing despair. Human military doctrine was based on a simple principle: overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. They did not believe in fair fights or honorable combat. They believed in winning quickly and completely. The files showed recordings from humanity's civil wars, conflicts where entire planets had been depopulated in hours, weapons that could turn atmospheres into plasma, ships that could phase in and out of normal space at will, artificial intelligences that could outthink any organic strategist. And these were old conflicts, fought with primitive technology compared to what humans possessed now. Captain Morrison's voice filled the alien command center once more. "You should pay particular attention to the section about human defensive protocols. When your scouts first approached our solar system, they triggered automatic response systems that we established after our civil wars ended." Zexthul found the relevant files and felt his hope die completely. Earth's defensive network consisted of thousands of automated weapons platforms hidden throughout their local stellar region. Any unknown vessel entering human space was tracked, analyzed, and targeted by systems that could strike across multiple star systems simultaneously. "The Retribution was dispatched not because you represented a significant threat," Morrison continued, "but because our automated systems determined that one old patrol ship would be sufficient to handle your entire fleet. We were correct." The alien commander understood now why the humans had seemed so calm during their brief conversation before the battle. They had known exactly how the conflict would end from the moment their sensors detected the approaching fleet. "You will also note," Morrison added, "that Earth's current military policy prohibits the use of our most advanced weapons except in cases of species-level extinction threats. The weapons we used against you are considered non-lethal by our current Standards: non-lethal. Weapons that could erase matter from existence and manipulate time itself were considered non-lethal by human standards. Zexathol could not even imagine what their lethal weapons could accomplish. "Commander Zexathol," Morrison said, addressing him directly, "you will personally carry this message to your superiors. Humanity claims no territory beyond our current borders. We have no interest in conquest or empire, but we will not tolerate threats to our species or our worlds. Any attempt to approach human space with hostile intent will result in immediate and total retaliation." The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleet alone with their newfound knowledge. Around the galaxy, other hegemony forces were already receiving similar data packages transmitted by automated systems that had been observing their movements for months. Within hours, the greatest military withdrawal in galactic history began. Hegemony fleets abandoned their positions across 3 sectors of space, fleeing from an enemy they finally understood they could never defeat. Commander Zexathol sent his final report to Hegemony Command as his crippled flagship limped toward the edge of the system. His message was simple: mark the human species as extinction-level threat. Forbid all contact. Pray they remain content with their current borders. The USS Retribution watched the alien fleet depart, then began its journey, home to Earth. Its mission was complete. The message had been delivered, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the depths of space, automated beacons began broadcasting warnings in every known alien language. Warning: you are approaching human space. Turn back immediately. This is your only warning. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human dominance had begun.